we mentioned Connor Hellebuyck, and he has mentioned publicly that, you know, the time is now. He wants a chance to win, and he's not sure if that can be accomplished where he's at right now in Winnipeg. What do you foresee for the future of Connor Hellebuyck if he does get traded, or when he does get traded? What might the haul in return have to be for somebody of that ilk?
Well, first thing I would say this. When I heard his initial comments in the post-season scrum the season-ending scrum, I should say, immediately alarm bells went off for me. And if I'm another GM that's looking to upgrade my position, Connor Hellebuyck, he wants out of Winnipeg. Let's get on the phone.
Did he say anything surprising, though? Because wouldn't any players say, hey, I just want a chance to win?
No, he didn't say anything surprising, but the fact that he said it made it a little bit more enticing if I'm another general manager, because I know exactly where he is at in terms of his thought process. What type of return could this net? Well, he has 1 year remaining on his deal, so he's on an expiring deal. 1 more year remaining. Franchise goaltender. I think this gets a haul. I really do. I think this will be a potential 4 pieces depending on the value of the pieces, but I think it's a potential 4-piece deal.
Yeah, and I'm assuming they have to get a goaltender back.
In return.
He'll be part of the deal, and picks, of course. But, you know, it was interesting on the way that season finished, and then Coach came out, Bowness came out, and made those comments, and you could see something just quite wasn't right.
Yeah.
And then for this to come out and say, hey, I want out right now, I thought was a pretty big statement by him. And, you know, when a goaltender like that, like you said, comes available, every team gets excited to think, wow, does that make us better by adding him? And there's probably 20 teams that thought that thing immediately.
Sure.
So where he ends up, I don't know, but certainly there's going to be some knife offers put forward.
Is there a fit that just comes to mind? I know as soon as that, you know, word came out that Hellebuyck could be on the move, I know Devils fans were like, oh, please, please. Is there a good fit?
Yeah, I think that'd be a great fit because you could move Vitek Vanacek the other way, who's coming off of an outstanding season in his own right. Another team that really comes to mind for me is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Sure.
Like
don't we have this conversation every season in Toronto?
But nobody's listening. That's why we have to have the same conversation. So to me, the Leafs, we know that they're on the mountain. They're not where they want to be, but they're on the mountain, and you have these pieces. But if you can get a goalie of that ilk, that's that composed, that consistent, on a night-to-night basis, you fill out your card, your lineup sheet, you're like, we're good.
Bring him in.
The money
sign him up.
Right?
No, sign him up. I mean, for sure. And again, there's a kid, and if you watch his, and he's on every pregame, they got him doing his little routine and his focus and how he is. I just think if I'm a player and this guy comes into my locker room and I see what he does to get ready, it helps me as a player. So he doesn't only stop the puck. I think he's a big piece of the entire puzzle that's going to affect the rest of the locker room as well. So to me, some team's going to be really lucky if they do pull this straight out.
All right, it could be big news coming up at any point this offseason. Speaking of goalies, the Boston Bruins signing goaltender Brandon Bussi to a 1-year contract. You can see his numbers with what he did with the Providence Bruins. Is this just standard housekeeping for depth in the organization, or is this a bigger indication on something that may be happening between the tandem, the love tandem that was Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman?
Yeah, so my buddies coach him down in Providence, and they've been raving about him, and he was a AHL All-Star last year, and he's a big southpaw. So some people said he kind of reminds them rather of Logan Thompson in Vegas, who I'm a big fan of, and who was an All-Star this year. All of that to say, yes, this is a little bit of housekeeping, and it's also, well, we're getting a lot of offers. There's a lot of interest in either one of our goalies, of course, in Swayman and also Linus Ullmark. So who do we decide to move? And should we decide to move on from one of them, we need to have our guy.
Move one of them?
We don't have to. But and I love that you asked the question. And there's that love affair between those two.
It works so well.
It works.
It's the best regular season in NHL history.
Correct.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And that's exactly why everybody on the Causeway is still sour. And they haven't been able to heal from it yet.
But at some point, you keep those two guys, and Swayman's up for contract. So what do you pay him? Does he get the same as Ullmark or not? So at some point, you know, it puts the coach, Montgomery, in a tough position. Which one am I going to play? So I think you're better off having a one. And then, so I think moving one of those guys is the right play. And like you said, if the other guy's ready to come up and potentially play 15 to 20 games next year or 30 games, you still got a great tandem. And
Totally.
if you look at how Vegas won this year and you look at Carolina and some of the other teams in the playoffs, you don't need one goalie. You need multiple goalies. And I think that's something new.
Yes.
Is the fact that you can't rely on, hey, I got a starter. I got Marty Brodeur. He's going to play 78 games this year, and he's going to, play whatever we play in the playoffs. You have to have depth at the goaltending position. So I think that Boston, with what they have to sign on all their free agents, they're going to have to make some move to free up some space, and potentially I think that one of those goalies will be moved.
Yeah, and somebody's going to get a quality goalie.
Again, the goalies are moving all over the place.
Exactly.
The way we got it, we're predicting goalies all over the place.
So,
Well, we'll stay along those themes. And you mentioned Toronto, and you've been screaming from the rafters for years. John Gibson to Toronto, that would be a great fit. Has not happened yet. John Gibson, still an Anaheim Duck, although indications that his tenure could be coming to an end there. Do you think a team finally extracts John Gibson from Anaheim? Is he still the same caliber goalie that we've been talking about the last couple of years?
Yeah, and my buddies are goalie coach there, Sudsy Maharaj, who's done an outstanding job with Gibby. I think that Gibby is a gamer. He's a loyal guy, and if anything, his loyalty to Anaheim led for him to not ask for this before. He said, hey, I'm committed to the program. I want to be a part of the solution. I've seen so many Ducks games. I've worked so many Ducks games where this guy's literally breakdancing on the cardboard in the crease just to keep it close. 50 saves, 48 saves. So to me, yes, he's still a top-end quality goalie, I believe. And I feel that the team that gets him will get a rejuvenated John Gibson, a very motivated John Gibson, and a very capable one.
No question about it. And you mentioned Toronto. I think Pittsburgh, they got a little bit of things going with Jerry and everything else there. He's a Pittsburgh kid. I still remember when he came in our locker room, his draft year. He came walking through and he met Sid and everybody else. And for me, I've always enjoyed the kid as a competitor. And like you said, Weeksy, he hasn't had a ton of support in Anaheim. And, for me, every game that he played, he competed his rear end off to try to keep Anaheim in it. So I got a lot of respect for him. And I do think that a new chance somewhere else, putting a new jersey on, would really help him, kind of get his career going again.
All right, we'll see on that front. You mentioned Pittsburgh. We'll stay in the Keystone State. How about the Flyers? We know they dealt Ivan Provorov earlier in the offseason, and rumors were swirling that this guy, his name, could be involved in some kind of deal. Carter Hart, at one point, a couple of years ago, this guy was the future of this organization at that position. What happens, and where might he end up if you think he goes somewhere?
Well, here's the thing. Timing. And Carter Hart, who I've also been a huge proponent of since his time in Everett in the WHL, he is such a patient goalie, especially given his age. Watch the way he plays in a very composed fashion. He doesn't chase the game around. He's early or he's on time to position. Here's my thing with Carter Hart. I almost think that at this point, the Philadelphia Flyers were looking for this goalie. They wanted another in-house goaltender, organic, that they were able to develop. They've got him. But the problem is, to me, he's so much better than their team right now. And if you're looking to maximize your assets and your net return, that kind of leads us to where we are right now.
Yeah, and you look at, too, there's been lots of turnover and change, coaches and everything else for him to have to deal with as a young goaltender. So I'm with you. I watched him a lot thinking the same thing, that, man, he's the best piece of that puzzle for Philly. But, again, is it right to move him now? And, again, if he does go somewhere else, expect him to get a second life and go somewhere else and play really well. So, again, this goaltender thing this summer is going to be really interesting. Well, Vegas is going to have goaltenders. Carolina's got goaltenders. They get assigned. So there's going to be lots of moving pieces in this whole goaltender, what do we want to call it? Summer of the goaltender movement.
Yeah, why not? Guess what? It keeps us busy.
Correct.
Which is a good thing.
And it keeps our former goaltenders happy.
That means he has to work a lot.
Well, let me jump in on this quickly.
Go for it, yeah.
Now that you asked me who, I see a team like the Ottawa Senators here.
There you go.
You've got young, studly pieces like Brady Tkachuk, Drake Batherson. I can go up and down the list. Tim Stützle. Beast. He looks like the second version 2.0 of the great Marian Hossa. That's how good he looks to me.
Okay, I haven't seen that yet, but now I'm going to watch closer now that I know that.
And wearing his old number 18 in Ottawa, too. Like, stylistically looks similar. He's hungry on the puck. I think that Carter Hart would be a nice fit with that young group that they have there. And he can grow and elevate his game as they do likewise with their individual
I
game.
hope all the NHL GMs are watching the show tonight because we're giving them great ideas.
Right.
So keep going.
Exactly. Exactly.
Keep going.
And they're not even paying
Send the
us for
steak
them.
dinner.
Exactly.
Heart's
That's
way.
right.
All
Surf
right.
and surf to the studio.
I love
There
it.
you go.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, the summer of the goalies and the carousel, where it ends up, we will find out. Only time will tell.